He's the consummate professional. Kevin Bacon has had over 30 years of acting credits to his name. And not only has his career survived, it continues to thrive. And amazingly, he's never been typecast. And this morning, we are so excited to be spending the next hour with Kevin Bacon, starting now on Private Sessions.
How are you?
Hi, good. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
What do you think? Like
Nice.
a living room?
I like it. A couple of guitars. It's good.
That's right. And we're going to hear you play some of those guitars pretty soon with your bro.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I wanted to talk to you about a couple of things that we've just recently seen you in. We've seen you in back-to-back military, real-life military roles in Frost Nixon and Taking Chance. And in each you played a Marine. Did you, preparing for these roles, did one help the other since they were so similar, military?
They're both Marines, but they're still, you know, they're still different men. There was a little bit of a gear shift there. I had done A Few Good Men a few years ago, which I also played a Marine and spent some time at Quantico and had some of that research done at that point. And then Taking Chance was a question of really getting together with Mike Strobel, and who was the real guy that I played, and you know, trying to cop his essence as much as possible. And luckily, Jack Brennan was also around as a guy I played in Frost Nixon.
You've been quoted as saying there was guns, and I'm wondering if you meant versus the Army, Navy, Air Force. There's the. Can you put what that is? I
can't put my finger exactly on what it is, but there is a, I don't know, a strength. I mean, a fearlessness, and a sense of a really overwhelming sense of order and precision. They're really about things being done right. I can't tell you how many times the Marines have either commented to me or told me, you know, about how relieved they were that my uniform was okay, just because that, you know, it's like that's so important for them. All the military services are obviously taking a huge risk and putting themselves in harm's way. But you know, the Marines are the guys that are really throwing themselves out there, and they're the first in, you know, and that takes a certain kind of mentality, and one that I might add is not even close to being who I am. I mean, there's no way that I would make it through 10 minutes of boot camp. I would be whimpering and you know, sobbing and, you know, wanting my mommy. Going back to Frost Nixon, what drew you to the part of Jack Brennan? Ron Howard called me up, and we had not worked together since Apollo 13. And he said, you know, I've got this guy, and he was Nixon's right-hand man after Nixon left the White House and went to San Clemente. And I said to Ron, I like this part, and I want to do this part, as long as we're clear that this is not a kind of dyed-in-the-wool, neocon, creepy, Dick Cheney type, Karl Rove, you know, kind of puppet master. I mean, I said, you know, that's not that interesting to me. Right. I said, you know, I want a man, and this is before I met Jack, and of course it turns out to be that this is who he is. I want a man of fierce loyalty and a man of honor, and someone who has a really deep respect and love for Nixon. And I think Ron was really on board with that, and once we sort of established that, then you know, we were off to the races. Well, I'm sure Jack appreciated it too, that you played it in that. Well, you know, it was interesting to be with Jack and hear the way that he talked about Nixon. You know, we never really talked politics hardly at all, but he was at first he was a Marine who was stationed at the White House, and his job and what he was trained to do was to protect his commander-in-chief, not to question him, but to be by his side and you know, deliver to him whatever he needed. Nixon was very enamored with Jack, as he was with most Marines, because I think, like me, Nixon probably would have made it through boot camp either. Yeah, he would have been crying for his mommy. He would have been crying for his mommy too, right. Well, we spoke real-life Marine. Okay. And he had a couple of questions for you. Uh-oh. Take a look.
Hey, Kevin, Jack Brennan here. I was former President Nixon's chief of staff in the mid and late 70s, and you played my character in the recent movie Frost Nixon. I do have a question for you, but first I want to tell the audience how we first met, and my first impression was when I got a call saying that you wanted to meet with me, my first thought was, oh my God, here's another Hollywood guy who's going to say, oh, I met the character I played and I looked into his soul, I know who he is, and on and on and on. So I was skeptical, but I was convinced by other people that you're a straight shooter. I agreed to meet with you, and I must apologize that I broke 2 dates to meet with you. Finally, I felt guilty, and I called your office and said, listen, I broke dates with this guy. I'll come to New York and meet with him. And they said, no, 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 he wants to come to you, and he'll do that. So you did drive the 250 or so miles from New York to my home in Rhode Island in your unpretentious car. We spent time together. I was very impressed. You even, unfortunately, turned down my dinner invitation and drove all the way back. When you left, I said, I'm really pretty lucky that this guy's going to be playing me. He seems to be a true professional. And you've proven that to be true, and I appreciate it, and my family does. My question then is, I think you told me that you've only played, of all the many roles that you've played in the movies, only 3 characters have been those who are alive at the time. And I just wonder how you can do that, what techniques, how difficult is it, and what are the challenges of playing a character who's alive?
Well, that's great. It's great to see Jack up there. Yeah, I mean, the challenges are in some ways the same as playing a fictional character, in that you want to learn as much as you can about this person. You want to find as many things that you can relate to in terms of them. You want to use them as much as you possibly can, and then you have to also just lose yourself into their shoes. You know, it's use yourself and lose yourself. So to get even the smallest details about what somebody, Jack was really surprised, for instance, when I asked him to make me a playlist of songs that he would like. You know, why would you want that? But, you know, music is a really important part of who we are.
Absolutely.
Now, it's not like I'm going to be dancing around in the movie and, you know, listening to a Walkman or something like that. But to just think about the kind of music and that he responded to, and in his case, a lot of it had a very kind of romantic sort of, you know, feel to it.
Yeah.
That was something that sort of informs a character.
When we come back, we'll hear how a young Kevin Bacon left home for the big bad city. Stay with us. Next week, we feature the artist who had the biggest selling release for the past 2 years, Daughtry.